1. Back in the early 1990s, I worked at an off-price retail store that I helped open. It was a pretty large chain, but nowhere as large as it is now. We refer to it by the spoof of its tagline, "Stressed for Less." The focus has changed since those days. We were in competition with higher class stores in those days, so we had better quality stock and high-end items to reflect the snobby suburban town we were located in. We even had to dress very professionally. We were by and large a community that was used to bargaining for deals in the old country, and still do within their community here. I was customer service, which meant that I was the only person on the floor who could do refunds, returns, and price adjustments. There were some heartwarming and bittersweet moments, like helping a man buy a dress for his wife, who had a severe case of dementia, for a funeral. I told him to bring it back afterwards. I would give him a refund or exchange it for a happier dress. He didn't take me up on it, even though my boss was on board with the proposal. There was an old man who serenaded me when he came through my line. Of course, there were the requisite shoplifters, quick change artists, con men, and out-of-control customers. Some days turned into tutorials of the American retail system for the clients not raised in it. Then it happened. There came a day when a situation came along that was so bizarre and audacious that it bypassed my moral outrage and went straight to my sense of surrealism, and thus left me hysterically laughing off and on throughout the rest of my shift. An item on the floor goes through 4 steps: full price, first price reduction, second price reduction, and clearance rack, about 15% of our original price. On the clearance rack, items may be missing a few buttons, missing some sequins or beads, missing a belt, have the wrong size belt, mismatched 2-piece sets, or just be way out of date. One day a lady came up to the customer service desk and wanted an additional 50% off of the clearance price for a dress because it was missing all of the buttons. Sure enough, every place where there had been a button, decorative or functional, only short threads remained. She made her pitch loudly and with feeling as to why this discount should be. I said no, and after 15 minutes of this improvised floor show, I'm stealing the food out of her baby's mouths and the like, I called over my massively cool manager, who also said no. After my manager left and was out of sight, she flung the dress at me saying I could keep it at those prices, and stormed out the large glass doors behind my desk. I watched her leave the building and make it to the sidewalk. About a minute later, after I had turned my back to the doors and faced my register and the store's interior, there was a loud whoomp at my side counter. I jumped out of my skin as I had no idea that the irate wheeler-dealer customer had entered the building, much less taken her hand palm down and given the counter an almighty slap. She looked at me with such hatred on her wizened face. I was worried that I was about to be accosted, cursed, or both. I admit my adrenaline was on high, and I was thinking about how I was going to defend myself, when she raised her hand straight up and off the counter, saying, "And you can keep all your damn buttons!" and left in high dudgeon. Sure enough, all of the missing buttons from the denuded dress were there, not one missing. Dishonest enough to try and con on a cheaper price by damaging merchandise, but not enough to actually steal the buttons. People are weird. I think monasteries should make novices work retail for a year. If you can still really love your fellow man without being discouraged after that, you're definitely priest material. 2. I was working in a supermarket in a small town 10 months ago. It still puts a smile on my face to think of the last day. Of course, there were some days with a few kinks and a few who wanted to see the manager, but it was nothing really. On my last day, I had a 10.5-hour shift, and I was supposed to close the store for my last day. We closed at 8 p.m. At around 6:30 p.m., I came back to the register for my break. And a few minutes later, this one man came. He was always really nice and talkative. He always bought 4 liters of yogurt and a bag which always comes to about 20 Danish crowns, about $3. It was slow at the time since most people were at home eating dinner, so I could talk with some of the customers, which I like to do. Most customers are nice, and some even told my boss how much they liked me at the register. But this one man, he was special. He had reduced mobility in his arms, hands, and throat, hence the yogurt. When working the register, you're supposed to open the bags for customers, but for some reason, I was the only one who did this on a regular basis. And when the man came up to the register to buy his yogurt and talk, he commented on it. He told me how happy he was that I opened the bags for him, since he had a hard time doing so himself. I told him that it was nothing and I do it for everyone. We talked for a bit, and he told me that if he saw that I was the one on the registers, he would come to mine. This made me happy, but also a little sad. It was my last day since I had to move to go to university. I told him it was my last day and he became visibly sad, and told me that now it was barely worth it to come to that supermarket, in a playful way. He didn't want to seem sad, but I could see that he was. We talked a bit more about his son, who had just come home from doing service and such other things. I bagged his yogurt for him and he was about to go and wanted to tip me about 20 Danish crowns, but we're not allowed to take tips. I then rang the bell to open up the other register. My boss and co-worker came and asked why. I told my boss I needed a few minutes. I had a tear in my eye, and my boss saw and laughed with me and said, "Of course." I came back, finished my shift, and was ready to head home. My boss called me to the break room. I thought I had forgotten something, but when I came she had bought a little cake so we could talk about the customer from earlier that evening. When I got out of the store it was like 30 minutes later than usual. But when I came out of the store the man was there with his son and asked if I needed a ride home. It was only a 5-minute walk, so not really, but he told me that it doesn't matter, so I accepted. On the way the man handed 750 Danish crowns, about $120, and told me that now I didn't work there anymore, so I could take it. I said it was too much, but he insisted. I said no and he accepted. But when I was dropped off at home, he opened the window and handed me a bag and thanked me for being nice. His son, who was driving then, began driving before I could even see what was in the bag. I walked into my home and looked inside the bag. The money was there, and a cup of his favorite yogurt. I was so happy and yet so sad. I hope I see that man again to thank him. 3. Retail can be a fickle little bitch. There are days when your customers hate you, and there are days when life hates you. Regardless of customers or life, you have to, if only in your mind, bend over, drop your pants, and tell everybody and everything to kiss your ass. Like a first kiss, my first foray into the world of being a pet shop employee invokes fond memories. Not because it's a magical place where you get to play with puppies, bunnies, and kittens. No, my fond memories focus on victimizing our customers. If it's fish you want, you're in luck. I'm the fish expert. $90 later and I've sent a family of 4 in their Sunday best home with fish guaranteed to kill each other. Is little Johnny ready for those Serbian dwarf hamsters that he's been saving up months for? Well, here you go. Not only do you not have 1 male and 1 female, but you have 2 males that will castrate each other. Puppies? Here is a pug. They piss on everything. And here is a beagle. Your neighbors will hate you forever. We can't forget about birds. You don't just want 1 lovebird, you want 2. They will never bond to you. How about a conure? You look like you'd need to be dominated by a 100-gram bird that loves to scream and bite. Now that we have established the quality of my character, let me introduce you to my partner in crime. Part of my duties included hand-feeding the baby birds from the cocktails up. The big birds being, of course, the macaws. Most of my macaws were shipped to other stores, which really pissed me off because it's easy to get attached to them. But we had a camelot that wasn't going anywhere. Think cross between a blue and gold and a scarlet, very beautiful. As time marched on, Xavier's feathers came in, and the owner of the pet shop moved him to the open bird pit. Anyone could reach in and touch him. He had a high tolerance, but he had a limit. For anyone that has not worked in a retail shopping center, employees, regardless of the store they work in, are entitled fucks. With this entitled fuckery, they started to pick Xavier up. He would scream and nip and run away. But if someone is pushing their finger into your chest, and you happen to be a bird, you have to step up. In fact, I quit clipping his wings so that he could fly to me, where he would either perch on my shoulder or become my shadow. But this wasn't enough, I had to arm him. The only way to do that is through bad behavior. Within a week, I taught him how to rip buttons off of shirts and throw them into the bird pit that he shared with a dozen baby cocktails and some mini macaws. The buttons were practically guaranteed to land in bird shit. By the second week, we added speed. He could rip several buttons off a shirt in the same amount of time it took a human to realize it. Most of the regulars, being other mall employees, wore button-up shirts. With the regulars taken care of, we had to turn our attention to the non-regulars. These were the assholes most likely to tease the birds. Bad behavior number 2, swearing. We started out with a simple "fuck off" because it lends itself to their natural sounds, then slut, cock, cunt, and we kept going. Of course, I had to keep this on the down low as the owner was trying to figure out where these words were coming from. He was also getting fined by the mall. Because we were a high-traffic area, Xavier would love the attention he would get by screaming, "Fuck you!" at full volume when the space in front of the store was packed. The city is predominantly Mormon. Conservative was expected. Kind of leaving Xavier behind, we also sold puppies. This was something I don't agree with, but it wasn't my store. The puppies were in the back of the store, though you could see them as you walked by the front of the store. The kennels were behind sliding glass doors. I learned to keep those glass doors spotless. Hardly an hour would go by when someone wouldn't beeline in front of the store to the back of the store, only to bounce off the glass. And Xavier would bust up laughing because he saw me laughing. And finally, whenever I had an opening shift, the silver sneakers would be doing their laps. Think walking club for old people. I would superglue quarters to the tiles outside of our store. Most of the sneakers would try to pick it up, realize it was glued, and then move on. A few would get down on their hands and knees and work at it with their car keys. All the while, Xavier's colorful language is flooding the mall. The asshole in this adventure was me, and I was against everyone that walked into my store. My sales numbers were always high as I was the only long-term employee. 2 male hamsters cost the same as 1 female and 1 male hamster. As for Xavier, he is either transgender or has always been a she. Xavier went to a good home, the owner was a sailor, swears like a sailor, and they are perfect for each other. 4. Okay, so this just happened to me today. Little backstory. I work at a big chain pet store in the southwest. I work part-time in the store's grooming salon as a dog bather. So 2 Yorkies were booked and checked in under me this morning. Just a normal bath and one of our combo packages. The pet parent, which we'll refer to as Bitch PP. So a co-worker of mine checked both dogs in and explained to Bitch PP that her pack includes a nail grinding and conditioner, which is what Bitch PP wanted, as well as a premium shampoo. All went well, no issue. I take care of the dogs with little to no problem. Yes, they were asshole dogs, but I'm used to it. So here is the fun part. Let me add another detail to this oh-so-lovely story. So any service we offer, we have to print a service card that all PPs have to sign and initial that they are the owner and are willing to pay the exact price amount in dollars listed. Understand that if anything for whatever reason goes wrong, we cover the vet bill. And overall understanding that is a contract by the legal sense of the word. Anyway, back to the story. So the bitch PP came in, picked up her dog, and gave me a $12 tip. Where's the funny part? Well, wait, here it comes. So I am taking care of a husky and my store's assistant manager comes in and switches places with the groomer. Salon policy says that if we're working on a dog, any dog, there must be 2 certified people in the salon at all times. I grabbed a call that came in from the register. The cashier was telling me that the bitch PP was wondering why it cost an extra $17, the price of the package, per dog in an already, I think, $40 sum per dog bath. Yes, Yorkie baths are expensive. Don't ask for the haircut price. So I explained again what the package was and reassured the cashier that the dogs got the service they wanted. She then told me she needed to talk to a manager. So I hand the phone off to the manager with me. I'm paying attention to my husky, and noticed the manager was done with the call and was waiting. I was about to put the husky back in her kennel when I saw the bitch PP walking up. I put the dog away and grabbed the service card to call the husky's PP when I walked into this. Manager: I'm sorry, but you did sign off on it. Bitch PP: well, I didn't have my glasses on and your associates didn't explain it to me, and I'm not paying the $17 extra. Me saying to myself, yes we did, you moron. Manager: well, I can take $5 off to meet the price for the nail Bitch PP: well, I don't fucking care what your bitch associates think, I'm not paying for it. Manager, well, I'm sorry, but we will no longer be taking care of your dogs anymore. Bitch PP, well, I'm not coming back to this store anymore. Me, saying to myself, bye-bye, you moron. Bitch PP storms off, trying to get her shopping cart with the 2 Yorkies in it out of our salon door. Kind of anticlimactic, really. Meanwhile, the groomer who left came back to catch that part. And they and I were trying to hold back the laughing. After Bitch PP left, the manager was about to walk out, then looked at us and said, "Make sure you put notes about her on file about what happened." Now folks, our booking system is online based, meaning all of the stores in our chain could see the notes, meaning she's not booking at any of our stores. As for me, the kicker, which makes it worthwhile, is I got tipped for an extra service she refused to pay for. And the note said she didn't pay for the service, which, yes, is theft. And so I say good riddance. 5. Long story short, lately I've been working both the register and seafood, varying up the day and hour. I love working seafood because I grew up in a fishing family. I'm only a student, and they understand that. On the front end, as I've bitched before, they're a different breed entirely. Our front-end manager has her society of disciples. The quorum, we shall call them, which includes people hired both before and after me. These are the kind of dear soul who jumps when the manager says jump, and sucks her head right up the arse for whatever they can get. I'm not like that. I do not suck up. But I'm always kind and willing to take a shift if someone is sick or whatever. Lately, several higher-ups in the front end changed departments due to this manager. In fact, one dear lady who has been working there for 20 years, retired from teaching, had me come into the office with her as a third party while she told the manager right off about picking favorites and having only a select number of people do any leisurely working activity. Always the same people cleaning tills, greeting customers, giving out samples, regardless as to whether they're trained or not. This lady saw it happening not just to myself and her, but to all the other good employees who refused to just suck up and be a favorite. For the front end, a collection of 75 cashiers in total, calling in sick is a mortal sin. Lately, my wisdom teeth have decided to come in, and I've been living off my 5-year-old nephew's pureed leek and potato because I can't open my jaw wide enough for anything else. Last Friday I discovered that 6 people were hired on 6 months ago. Members of the quorum were selected to become supervisors, and I, completing my master's, was not chosen. I, who has worked there for 6 years. My supervisor that night came over to visit, saw the swelling in my face and the basically flooding of tears in my eyes from the pain. She told me to go home, and I said, "I think I can do it." But she bluntly replied, "I am a mother, I can smell pain from a mile away. Go home and don't worry about coming in tomorrow. Put ice on your face all day and rest." Bring on Saturday, me in bed, ice to cheek, presuming I had the day off due to my kind supervisor's effort to prevent me from banging my head off a concrete block. My phone buzzes on my bed, but I ignore it. My cheek was literally killing me slowly. Then the house phone rings, which I ignore because I still am dying. Brings Sunday. After dinner, lunch for Americans, I stopped in to work a shift in the seafood to train in a new young lad they hired. Up comes front-end manager, with her sidekick, and a piece of paper. Front-end manager. "Where were you yesterday? How come you're down here when we very clearly had you scheduled up at the front yesterday? And you never showed?" Me, well, I went home Friday because of my wisdom tooth. I had it rested all day Saturday, and plus Sylvia said she'd write a note saying I wouldn't be able to make it in. Believe me, I'm still in pain. Sidekick.
"You can be fired for this, not showing up for a shift without calling in."
Me, but Sylvia told me she'd leave a note. Front-end manager.
"Yes, and I have it here. It says, Trightful was in a lot of pain last night, told him to go home and get some rest, and he will not be in tomorrow. Thanks."
Sidekick.
It's not up to you when you can come and go. You're allowed to call a supervisor and tell her or him you're sick, but you cannot just not show up.
Me. But did you read the note? Front-end manager.
Still unacceptable. It's not up to the supervisor who can work and not. I did up that schedule.
You left those girls, 2 supervisors, in a real pickle. At this point I'm cringing from the whole conversation. Me. I know. And everything you're saying is true. However, you're not the Muppet spring in my legs and arms and hands. Nor are you the one who controls when a tooth decides to split in and ruin my comfort. I was sick, I was told to go home, and I was told to rest, to which I agreed. Clearly, if you had the capacity to process that letter in your hands, then you would see that you were notified that I would not be here. Now, I can be reasonable if you want to be as well, but of course if you come down here, both of you, so stubbornly confused as to what a letter written in English says, then you will not get the happiest response from me. I will be kind, but I will not give in to this foolishness. Front-end manager.
We have no choice but to write you up.
TikTok past 10 minutes of useless conversation. All of a sudden, the bakery manager comes up to me. Bakery manager. I heard all that. You got no bloody right to do that. Want to work over in the bakery from now on? I need a baker. You can start tomorrow, and you can show you'll be in my department by the time she gets a chance to write up all that, so she won't be able to submit it. Me, yes. In more words, but like I was excited. Bakery manager. Alright, well, we'll coordinate your bakery and seafood together so you're not worn out. And fuck that bitch out in the front. Summary. I didn't realise I was the only one who disliked the front-end manager. I also didn't realise the bakery manager was such a sweetheart. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Adventures in Fast Food and Retail number 28. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use and sent in stories for use in this video. This video did actually start life as a subscriber edition of the Adventures of Fast Food and Retail, but it didn't quite have what I needed. The video would have come in a bit short, so I swapped out one of the stories for one of the regular ones, and magically it transformed into a regular retail video, so there we go. Before I go, I do want to say thanks to everybody who gave me all the good feedback on the server video on Saturday. It seemed to go down quite well. Certainly has done better than I expected it to. Saturday's always a slow day for reviews now, so it's certainly done much better than I expected it to. And I'll do my best to try and get another one done. Don't know if it'll be this week, but I'll try and get another one done. Okay, and with that I think I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.